Secrets. Funny little things, aren't they? People spend their whole lives wrapping themselves in masks, in stories, in carefully crafted versions of who they want you to believe they are. They smile when they're breaking. They laugh when they're lying. They swear loyalty while they're already planning betrayal. And the one person you thought you knew best, the one you call a soulmate, oh, they're the greatest performer of them all. Because the closer someone is to you, the more dangerous their secrets become. Secrets. They're like little parasites, aren't they? Quiet at first, almost invisible, hidden deep inside the flesh of a relationship. You don't see them, you don't hear them, you don't even know they're there. But they grow, slowly, feeding off trust, feeding off closeness, feeding off love. The person keeping it tells themselves it's harmless, that silence is protection, that some truths are better left unsaid. They laugh, they touch your hand, they look you in the eye, and all the while something dangerous is crawling just beneath their smile. And the longer it stays hidden, the sharper its teeth become. You think you know someone, because they told you you did, because they showed you glimpses of who they wanted you to believe they were. But the secret has been whispering in the background, reshaping every word, every gesture, every moment you shared. It doesn't matter if it's big or small, a secret always poisons. It makes intimacy an illusion, turns affection into performance. You think you're sharing a life with someone, but really, you're living in a stage play they scripted. They rehearse their lines, they deliver their performance, and you clap without realizing the scene is fake. And then, one day, the curtain slips. That's the thing about secrets. They demand exposure. They can't stay hidden forever. They rot, they swell. They force their way to the surface like a wound that refuses to heal. Maybe it slips out in a careless phrase, a half-truth, a contradiction they didn't catch. Maybe it crashes down through a discovery you weren't meant to make, a message you weren't meant to read, a look you weren't meant to notice. The exposure might come quietly or violently, but it always comes. The secret is a ticking clock, and when the alarm goes off, you can't stop the sound. The interesting part is the reaction. The person who kept the secret will scramble, won't they? They'll say it was for your own good, that they didn't want to hurt you, that timing wasn't right. Excuses flow like water when the truth comes crashing in. But here's the twisted beauty. It doesn't matter what they say, because once the secret is revealed, it rewrites the entire story. Every laugh, every kiss, every promise. Suddenly it all looks different. The past transforms right in front of your eyes, because now you see it through the lens of what was hidden. It's like finding out your favorite painting was a forgery all along. The colors are still there, the strokes still elegant, but you can never look at it the same way again. And that, right there, is the power of exposure. It doesn't just shatter the moment. It reaches backward, poisoning memory, unraveling the comfort of what was. That's why secrets are so destructive. Not just because of what they hide, but because of how they warp everything that came before. And once they're revealed, you're left with nothing but questions. What else didn't I know? What else was a lie? Was any of it real? It's brutal. Yes, but it's also liberation. Because when the secret finally crawls into the light, you're no longer trapped in the theater they built. You're not sitting in the dark, clapping for their performance. You see the wires, the makeup, the illusion. You may hate what you see, but at least it's real. And reality, no matter how ugly, is always stronger than fantasy. Because with reality, you can rebuild. With lies, you can only sink deeper into the swamp. People like to believe secrets protect. They say silence is love, that withholding is kindness. But what they really mean is, I wanted to protect myself, not you. Every secret is selfish at its core. It's someone deciding that their comfort is worth more than your clarity, that their illusion is worth more than your truth. And when the exposure comes, it strips them bare. Suddenly, they can't hide behind the mask anymore, because the mask has been ripped off and tossed on the floor. So yes, secrets always demand exposure. It's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when. And when it happens, when the hidden truth crawls into the open, it won't feel like revelation. It'll feel like explosion, because truth doesn't trickle, it erupts. And when it does, nothing and no one comes out of it unchanged. The closer someone stands to you, the sharper the blade they hide behind their back. That's the cruel joke, isn't it? Strangers can hurt you, yes, but only in passing. Their words sting, their actions bruise, but they don't get under your skin. The ones who can really cut, the ones who can leave scars you'll carry for years, are the ones you invited into your life, into your trust, into your heart. You let them close enough to whisper, close enough to see you without your armor. And that's exactly why their betrayal slices deeper than anything else ever could. People talk about love as if it's safety, as if finding your so-called soulmate is the ultimate protection from the cruelty of the world. But what they forget is this: intimacy sharpens the knife. The closer you get to someone, the more power you hand them. Every secret you share, every weakness you expose, every crack in your armor you reveal, it all becomes ammunition in their hands. They may never use it, or maybe they're already using it, carefully, quietly, without you even realizing it. And when the truth comes out, you don't just feel pain, you feel stupidity. Because you realize you gave them the map to your heart, and they used it to plant the explosives. It's not always about active betrayal. Sometimes it's the hidden truths, the sicknesses, the shadows they never let you see. They smile at you in the daylight, but at night they wrestle with secrets too heavy to keep buried forever. And when you discover them, it's not just shock, it's devastation. Because you thought you knew them, really knew them. You built your life on the belief that what you saw was what you got. And then suddenly, in one cruel instant, you realize you've been loving a ghost, embracing a mask, whispering promises to someone who never truly existed. That's why the pain runs deeper than any wound from the outside. Outsiders can throw stones, they can mock, they can attack. but their blows only hit the surface. The inner circle, though, the one you let closest, when they strike, it goes straight to the core. They don't just break trust, they break identity. They make you question your own judgment, your own instincts. You don't just ask, how could they do this? You ask, how could I not have seen it? That's the cut beneath the cut. The doubt that festers long after the truth is revealed. And once that blade has pierced, it doesn't heal like a normal wound. You carry it into every future bond, every new connection. You start flinching at kindness, second, guessing sincerity, waiting for the knife that always seems to come sooner or later. That's the legacy of the closest ones, hiding the sharpest knives. They don't just break the moment. They break the foundation of trust itself. But let's not pretend it isn't fascinating in a twisted way. Because when someone that close hides a truth, it shows you just how fragile human connection really is. We build relationships on faith, on assumptions, on carefully curated performances. And it only takes one hidden blade to expose how much of it was fantasy. That's the moment when the curtain is ripped down, when you see the wires, the stage lights, the artificial smiles. And while it hurts, while it bleeds, it also forces you to see reality with brutal clarity. The closest ones, yes, they hide the sharpest knives. And when they finally strike, they carve away your illusions. They remind you that love is not a shield, it's a gamble. That intimacy doesn't just bind, it exposes. And in that exposure lies the risk of betrayal greater than anything an enemy could ever dream of delivering. Because an enemy cuts your flesh, but a soulmate's hidden truth, that cuts straight into your soul. Truth doesn't knock politely. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't clear its throat and ask if this is a good time. No, truth crashes in like a wrecking ball, tearing through the fragile walls of comfort you built around yourself. You think you're safe. You think you've figured out the people closest to you. You think the world is steady under your feet. And then in one instant, the hidden truth explodes into the open, and nothing is ever the same again. That's how it works. Not a drip, not a trickle, but a violent eruption that shatters every illusion you clung to. People fool themselves into thinking they can control when and how truth comes out. They bury it, they cover it with lies, they hide it behind fake smiles and soft words, believing they've locked it away forever. But the thing about truth is, it doesn't stay buried. It's alive. It pulses. It grows restless. It pushes against the walls of its prison until one day it bursts through with a force no one can contain. And when it does, it doesn't just reveal itself. It destroys everything in its path. Lies, trust, comfort, relationships, all collateral damage in the explosion of exposure. And that's why it feels like an attack, like violence. Because it doesn't arrive gently. It arrives in a way that forces you to see what you were never prepared to see. Maybe it's a confession blurted out in desperation. Maybe it's a message that wasn't meant for your eyes. Maybe it's a slip of the tongue that opens the door to something much darker. However it comes, It hits like a blade straight to the gut. 1 second you're standing in the illusion, the next you're on the floor, choking on reality. That moment changes you, because when the truth explodes, it doesn't just tell you about the other person. It tells you about yourself. It exposes your blindness, your naivety, the way you ignored the red flags, the way you convinced yourself everything was fine. That's the part that cuts deeper than the truth itself. The realization that you believed the mask, that you accepted the performance, that you clung to a lie because it was easier than facing the possibility of betrayal. The explosion doesn't just shatter your trust in them. It shatters your trust in yourself. And here's the irony. The bigger the secret, the louder the explosion. The more carefully it was hidden, the more violently it demands to be seen. That's why it feels like a bomb going off in your life. Because the longer truth is suppressed, the more force it gathers in the shadows. When it finally escapes, it doesn't whisper, it roars. And that roar drowns out everything else. Suddenly, the world you thought you knew is gone, reduced to rubble. And you're left standing in the smoke, wondering what was real and what was only illusion. People will tell you truth sets you free, as if it's some clean, liberating moment of clarity. But they forget that freedom often comes at the cost of destruction. The chains don't fall off quietly, they're shattered. The walls don't gently crumble, they collapse. That's why exposure feels like an explosion. Because before you can walk free, before you can step into reality, everything false has to be obliterated. So when the truth finally arrives, don't expect it to be gentle. Don't expect it to slip into your life like a soft breeze. Expect it to blow the roof off, to break the ground beneath you, to leave you gasping in the rubble of your own illusions. Because truth doesn't knock, it explodes. And when the dust settles, when the ringing in your ears finally fades, you'll realize it left you with something you never had before: the raw, unfiltered reality you were always too afraid to face. Secrets are funny things, aren't they? They sit there in the shadows, silent, patient, waiting for their moment. People think they can lock them away, hide them behind closed doors, bury them beneath carefully chosen words. But secrets are alive. They breathe, they itch. They claw at the skin of their keeper, whispering in the quiet moments, growing heavier with every heartbeat. The more someone tries to suppress them, the louder they scream inside. And here's the thing, they don't stay hidden forever. Sooner or later, the mask slips, the crack widens, and the truth leaks out, staining everything it touches. When it does, it's never in the way anyone expects. It's rarely a clean, well-timed revelation. No, secrets tend to reveal themselves in chaos. They tumble out in the middle of an argument, slip through a nervous laugh, get exposed by an accident, or show up in the silence that speaks louder than any word. They betray their owner because secrets have no loyalty. They don't care about the image someone tried to build. They don't care about the trust they're about to break. They don't care about the destruction that will follow. Secrets exist only to rot and to eventually burst. And people, oh, People love to pretend they're good at hiding. They rehearse their lines. They fake their smiles. They act like they've got it all under control. But the eyes always give it away. The hesitation in a voice, the nervous twitch in the hands, the way someone avoids a certain topic, it's all evidence. The performance might fool most, but the truth leaves fingerprints. You can sense when something's wrong, even if no one says it. You can feel the weight of what's not being spoken, the tension pressing in the air, the lie sitting like poison between two people, and it's only a matter of time before it bursts. That's the dangerous thing about hidden truths. They rot from the inside out. They don't just destroy the person who carries them, they eat away at everyone around them. Relationships crumble. Trust dissolves, love turns sour, and suddenly the foundation of everything you thought was solid collapses. The truth was always there, buried under layers of silence and pretense. But when it finally claws its way to the surface, it reveals just how fragile everything really was. And once it's out, there's no putting it back in. Once the curtain's pulled back, you can't unsee what's behind it. People fear exposure more than the secret itself. They cling to the lie not because it's beautiful, but because it's safe, it's familiar. It keeps the world stable, at least on the surface. But the problem is, stability built on a lie is an illusion. It's like building a house on sand. Looks strong for a while, until the first storm comes. Then everything sinks, and the lie that was meant to protect ends up being the very reason everything collapses. That's why secrets are so cruel. They let you believe in false security until the moment they rip it away. And here's the irony. The secret isn't the most dangerous part. It's the revelation. The moment it comes out, it doesn't just show the truth. It shows the betrayal, the manipulation, the games played in the dark. It changes the way people look at each other forever. Suddenly, every memory is questioned. Every smile, every word, every moment is re-examined under the light of what was hidden. Did they mean it? Were they lying then too? Was anything real? That's the power of exposure. It rewrites the past as much as it reshapes the future. So when a hidden truth comes crawling into the open, it doesn't just end a lie. It ends illusions. It strips away the comfort of not knowing and forces you into a harsher reality. And people don't like harsh reality. They like soft, easy stories. But reality doesn't care about comfort. It cares about being seen. And the truth, once revealed, will stand there, naked, undeniable, unstoppable, whether you're ready for it or not. People think they can live with a secret like it's just some little pocket knife they keep hidden away. Small, harmless, something they can tuck inside their coat and forget about. But it's never just a pocket knife, is it? It's more like a ticking device, sitting there, humming softly, waiting for the right moment to go off. And the funny part is, they know it's there. Deep down, they can hear it, feel it, carry the weight of it everywhere they go. Every smile, every laugh, every kiss, it's all a little heavier because that secret is pressing against the skin, reminding them that it exists. And yet, they keep it like some kind of twisted treasure, pretending the ticking will never stop. But it does stop. It always does. And when it stops, it's not quiet. It's loud. It's messy. It's destructive. It's the kind of noise that shakes foundations, breaks the floor beneath your feet, and leaves everyone wondering how long it was there, waiting, building. That's the cruelty of it. People are so focused on keeping it hidden that they forget the damage is growing even in the dark. It's not just waiting, it's spreading, seeping into the walls of their life, poisoning everything from the inside out. And when it finally bursts open, it's not just the secret that's revealed. It's the rot it's caused all along. Funny thing about attention, it burns hotter than fire. Everyone wants it, everyone chases it. But when it finally lands on you, when the eyes of the room shift and the whispers start circling, it doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like a spotlight that won't turn off. People love to talk, love to point, love to decide who you are before you even open your mouth. They build stories out of fragments, paint pictures with their own insecurities, and suddenly you're not just a person. You're an idea, an obsession, a symbol they can't stop chewing on. So, they call you the chosen one, the hottie everyone whispers about. What's figure their eyes can't help but follow. You see, when you become the center of their conversations, you're no longer just a person. You're a mirror. Every glance they throw at you, every sly comment, every laugh behind closed doors, it's never really about you. It's about them. Their insecurities, their hunger, their obsession with what they can't quite touch, but can't ignore either. You stand there, carrying a crown you didn't ask for, but it's there all the same, invisible yet heavy. And oh, the irony. It glitters brighter in their eyes, the more you pretend you don't even notice it. That's the curse of attention. It follows you, hunts you, chains itself to your shadow. But let me tell you something deliciously strange about it. It's also a crown, a weapon, a force. People die to be noticed. They beg for it, cry for it, starve themselves for just a sliver of it. And here you are, drowning in it without asking. They talk, they watch, they analyze every move you make. Like you're some living puzzle they'll never solve. They can't stop. And that's your leverage. Because while they're busy picking apart who you are, you get to play with who you want to be. You get to change the rules while they're stuck studying old pages of a book that doesn't even exist anymore. Think about it. What does it do to someone when they can't escape your presence, even when you're not around? They'll be at dinner, fork in hand, yet there you are in their thoughts. They'll be walking down the street, pretending to laugh with their friends, yet they're secretly measuring themselves against you. They'll curse your name while secretly wishing to be you. And the beauty of it is, you don't even have to move a finger. That's how much power attention holds. That's how intoxicating it is. But here's the trick. Most people, when they get it, they waste it. They become slaves to the very thing that was supposed to set them apart. They start performing for the whispers, twisting themselves into a shape that pleases the crowd. And that's when the crown turns into a noose. That's when the curse bites back. So here's the choice. You can wear that crown like a burden, dragging your feet under its weight, or you can tilt your head, let it shine in the light, and make them bow to the very image they built in their minds. Because once you realize the crown isn't theirs to give but yours to wield, everything changes. You stop running from the whispers. You stop begging for their approval. You start laughing, because now you see the truth. Their attention was never about you. It was about their emptiness, their desperation, their need to latch onto something brighter than themselves. And let's be honest, being unforgettable comes with a price. The higher you rise in their stories, the deeper the shadows that follow you. You'll become a target, a fantasy, a threat all at once. But that's exactly what makes it worth it. To be the center of their chaos, the pulse in their silence, the one they can't stop circling like moths around a flame. They'll want to touch, but they'll also fear getting burned, and that fear, that's control, that's power. You see, they can keep whispering, keep staring, keep asking who you really are. But here's the fun part. You don't owe them an answer. You can be everything they imagine, or nothing at all. Because you're not their story. You're not the product of their gossip or their fantasy. You're your own storm, your own flame, your own masterpiece. And once you start owning that, once you start realizing that the crown doesn't control you, you control the gaze, then suddenly all those whispers turn into applause, and all that envy turns into silence that tastes sweeter than anything they ever said. Whispers, those soft little daggers wrapped in silk. People like to think whispers are harmless, like feathers floating in the air, but you and I both know better. Whispers are heavy. They carry more weight than shouts. A scream dies in a moment, but a whisper, it lingers, it multiplies, it festers. And here's the funny part. They whisper about you, not because of who you are, but because of who they are. The words rolling off their tongues reveal the cracks in their walls, the stains in their hearts. They whisper because they can't bear to say it out loud, that they're afraid of you, jealous of you, maybe even secretly longing to be you. Every time they lean in close, lowering their voice so the world won't hear, they're really confessing something. Their envy, their curiosity, their emptiness. But instead of looking in the mirror, they point the finger. You've become their excuse. You've become the shadow they blame for their own lack of light. Isn't that ironic? They think they're tearing you apart. But the truth is, every word is an accidental confession of their own weakness. Every hushed conversation says more about them than it ever will about you. And let me tell you, whispers are addictive. Once they start, they can't stop. One rumor becomes another, then another, until it's a chain they can't break. It's like watching someone choke on smoke from the fire they lit themselves. They can't breathe, but they can't walk away either. They're stuck, enslaved by the very stories they created. That's the nature of whispers. They turn on their masters, And while they're caught up choking, you get to stand back and smile, because none of it touches you unless you let it. You see, when they whisper about you, they hand you a map of their fears. They show you where their insecurities live, where their weak spots hide. They're not exposing you, they're exposing themselves. And if you're clever enough, you don't fight the whispers. You don't run from them. You use them. You let them echo, let them build, let them draw the crowd closer. Because the louder their secrets about you sound in someone else's ear, the more everyone wants to see if it's true. And when they look, what do they see? You, still standing, still breathing, still untouchable. That's when the whispers backfire. But here's the tragedy. Most people, when they hear whispers about themselves, they panic. They chase them down, try to smother them, try to explain themselves into silence. That's weakness. That's surrender. The moment you try to correct the story, you've admitted the story has power over you. But you're smarter than that. You know whispers are only as sharp as the reaction they provoke. Stay calm, stay silent, and suddenly their precious whispers crumble into dust. Because what is a rumor without a reaction? Nothing. Just hot air dissolving into the night. And oh, the sweetest part. When you don't play their game, when you don't dance to their whispers, you become something far more dangerous, unpredictable. They whisper to control you, to shrink you, to pin you down with labels and lies. But when you don't react, when you keep moving like the whispers are nothing but background noise, you drive them insane. They'll whisper louder, faster, more desperately, because silence is their worst enemy. They need you to respond, and when you don't, they're left exposed, like children shouting into a void that never answers back. So let them whisper. Let them poison the air with their own fear. Every word is a confession. Every secret is a mirror. And while they think they're writing your story, they're really writing their own. One filled with envy, with cracks, with the sound of their own voices echoing back at them. They don't even realize it, but the more they whisper, the more they're telling the world exactly who they are. Envy is a clever little actor. It doesn't walk up to you and introduce itself, no. It hides behind claps, behind smiles, behind the word, congratulations. They'll toast to you, they'll shake your hand. They'll look you in the eye and say, I'm happy for you. But underneath those words, their teeth are grinding. Underneath that smile, there's a storm brewing. You can see it if you look closely. The way their eyes linger a little too long. The way their voice cracks just a little when they praise you. That's envy, wearing admiration as a mask. It's the green ghost that follows you into every room, pretending to cheer while secretly waiting for you to fall. You see, envy never likes to show its face. It's a coward like that. It prefers disguises because the truth of it is too ugly for most people to admit. Nobody wants to say, I wish I had your life, your looks, your strength, your presence. Nobody wants to admit they crave what you carry so effortlessly. So they wrap it in compliments. They turn it into advice or concern or even gossip dressed up as truth. But if you peel away the layers, it's always the same thing. They want what you have, and they hate that they don't have it. And the dangerous part, envy doesn't stay still. It grows. Like a vine wrapping itself tighter and tighter, it begins to choke them from the inside. First, it's a whisper in their head. Why them and not me? Then it becomes a habit comparing, calculating, measuring themselves against you at every step. And then, if you're not careful, it turns into action. That's when they start plotting. That's when their smiles sharpen into knives. They'll dress it up. Of course, pretend it's harmless fun. Pretend it's just competition. But you'll know. You'll feel it in the way they hover too close. The way they want to know every detail, every move. Not because they care, but because they're looking for cracks. But here's the fun part about envy. It's also a confession. If someone envies you, it means you hold something they can't ignore. It means you're ahead of them, above them, shining in a way they can't match. Envy is like a neon sign flashing. You're doing something right. That's why they can't stop watching you. That's why they can't stop talking about you. They'll tell themselves it's hate. But hate is just love that's been twisted by frustration. If they didn't care, they'd ignore you. But they can't, because envy ties them to you like a chain. They're prisoners of the very thing they despise. And here's the choice. You can let envy poison you, or you can let it fuel you. Because envy is contagious, and if you let it, it can crawl into your own skin, make you paranoid, make you bitter, make you doubt yourself. But if you understand it, if you see it for what it really is, then it becomes power. Every envious glance becomes proof of your impact. Every fake smile becomes validation of your presence. You stop fearing envy, and you start feeding off it. You turn their resentment into your reminder that you're on the right path. But don't be naive. Envy doesn't disappear just because you've learned how to use it. It lingers. It festers. Some will try to undermine you, to drag you down to their level, because envy hates being ignored. It wants to be seen, to be acknowledged. And when you rise above it, when you refuse to get tangled in their jealousy, that's when it burns them the most. Because the truth is, envy can't hurt you unless you let it. It only has as much power as you give it. So when you catch that flicker in their eye, that tiny crack in their voice, that shadow in their applause, don't shrink. Don't doubt. Smile back. Because you've just seen the truth behind the mask. And isn't it funny? They think they're hiding it from you, but envy has a way of revealing itself every time. Being unforgettable is a blessing dressed as a curse. You walk into a room and the air shifts. Eyes drag across you like magnets pulled against their will. You don't ask for it, but you feel it. People notice, people remember, and they carry you with them long after you're gone. That's what it means to stand out. And as intoxicating as it sounds, it paints a target on your back the moment it happens. Because people don't like what they can't ignore. They don't like someone who doesn't fade into the wallpaper like everyone else. You become a reminder of everything they're not, and reminders sting. The thing about being unforgettable is that it makes people restless. They'll either idolize you, or they'll despise you, sometimes both at the same time. One day you're their inspiration. The next you're the villain in their little bedtime stories. They'll copy you, mimic your words, your moves, your style, just to feel a fraction of what it's like to be you. And when it doesn't work, when they realize that no matter how much they mirror you, they still fall short, that's when the bitterness sets in. That's when admiration twists into resentment. It's like a game they can't win, and the more they lose, the more they hate the player. But that's the price of being unforgettable. You can't control the way people react to you. You can only control how you respond. Most people will tell you to tone it down, to play smaller, to dim your own light so others don't feel uncomfortable. But why should you? Why should you carry the weight of their insecurities just to make them feel safe? Being unforgettable means you were never meant to be safe. You were meant to rattle cages, shake foundations, force people to look in the mirror and see everything they're missing. It's not about making them comfortable. It's about making them awake. Of course, being unforgettable also means you'll be misunderstood. People will build stories about you, twist your actions into motives you never had, attach labels that don't belong to you. They'll tell themselves lies about who you are, not because they know the truth, but because it's easier for them to believe their own fiction. That's the game. You stop being a person and start becoming a symbol, a story, a myth they can project onto. You become whatever they need you to be in their little worlds, whether it's a hero, a villain, or a rival. And the irony, you don't even have to play along. Just by existing, you've already stolen the spotlight in their minds. And yet, here's the twisted beauty of it all. Being unforgettable means control. They may talk, they may mock, they may try to erase you, but none of it works. Your presence lingers like a fingerprint they can't scrub away. Even when they try to ignore you, the effort itself is proof of how deeply you've marked them. You haunt their thoughts, their conversations, their silence. You're a ghost they can't exorcise, and ghosts are powerful things. The danger, though, is forgetting that this power cuts both ways. Some people drown in the attention, become addicted to it. Start living for the reaction instead of the reality. That's when they lose themselves. That's when the crown they wear turns into a chain. But if you learn to stand apart without needing their applause, if you can remain unforgettable without selling your soul to their opinions, then you've mastered it. Then you've turned the curse into something else entirely. A weapon, a shield, a throne they can't touch. So yes, being unforgettable makes you a target. People will envy, mock, worship, despise. All of it. But it also makes you untouchable in a way. Because once you've carved yourself into their minds, once you've burned your image into their memory, there's nothing they can do to erase you. They can hate you, but they can't forget you. And that's the kind of power that makes the world uneasy. That's the kind of power that keeps you alive long after you've left the room. Power isn't in being seen. Power is in controlling the gaze. Anyone can be looked at. Anyone can draw attention with noise, with chaos, with beauty. That's the easy part. But real power, the kind that unsettles people, the kind that makes them squirm in their seats, is when you dictate how they see you, when you decide the angle, the timing, the lens. When their eyes don't just fall on you by accident, but because you placed yourself exactly where you wanted to be, in exactly the way you wanted them to notice. That's not vanity, that's strategy. Think about it. A spotlight can blind just as much as it can illuminate. If you're careless, it exposes your flaws, your cracks, every little imperfection. But if you're deliberate, it becomes your tool. You step into it when you're ready. You step out when you've made your point. You let them see only what you want them to see. That's how kings are made. Not by being present all the time, but by being unforgettable when it matters. You don't feed the crowd scraps. You starve them until the hunger is unbearable. Then you walk in and give them just a taste. And that taste stays with them longer than a feast ever would.